Another reason why I left religion, Christianity, fundamentalism, and the church is that churches teach its members that psychology or psychiatry or anything that doesn't line up with a specific denomination of Christianity is not something they should seek access to. So I grew up in an environment, and really still do live in a family of fundamentalist Christians that believe that anything that does not adhere to their very narrow view of knowledge and experience, medicine, sexual education, if it does not match what the Bible or how they interpret the Bible, they don't take it seriously. They don't see it as something worthy of consideration. If there are statistics and facts that prove that people who wait till marriage or have a very fundamentalist Christian purity view of sex triples their chances of having sexual dysfunctions, disorders, and issues related to shame, if it doesn't line up with what the Bible says about waiting till marriage, they don't see it as having any factual importance. If, let's say, my family, and they actually do believe this, my family believes that you're supposed to wait until marriage to have any form of consensual, legal intimacy. So you can imagine that if someone in my family was to have consensual, legal, sexual activity, they would view that as a sin. Which, I mean, I'm not going to hate on people's religious beliefs. I am saying that if your beliefs make it impossible for you to understand medical, factual information, teach your kids to have safe sex, even if you believe you're supposed to wait till marriage, how many people have ended up with diseases, died due to a belief that, well, kids don't need insulin, we'll just pray about it? And yes, parents do go to prison for keeping medical life-saving care from their kids due to religious beliefs. It's fine to believe whatever you want. The problem is when you allow your religious beliefs to be your sole identity. Nothing should be your sole identity. If your beliefs are everything about you, what you think, feel, who you marry, who you see yourself as, you start having a problem. Because what happens if someday you decide, you know what, I just don't see myself as a Christian anymore? Or you have doubts. Do you know how much psychological and emotional issues develop due to people so terrified of not believing in God because they have no identity if they don't? And I went through a crisis of my own back when I needed help. Some people might understand what I mean because you grew up in homes where your identity was wrapped up in a religion, which is why I don't tell a lot of people that I'm an atheist, because I don't want that to be the thing that people recognize me from. I don't want to be known at a workplace or among my friends as the atheist, because I don't want my identity wrapped up in a lack of religious belief. It's just one part of myself. I mean, I've known people that made their sexual orientation their entire personality. I don't think that's healthy, because it's just one part of yourself. I mean, there's different parts to yourself. Making your orientation, your interests, or your religion as your identity, I think can cause people to have what I would call a identity crisis. What happens if they, for some or any reason, decide, you know what, maybe I just have doubts. I'm not sure if I believe that way. They have no clue who they are. I mean, I didn't. If religion is your identity and is the standard in which you make all life decisions and how you function and get up in the morning, can you imagine changing a religion or leaving in all religions completely? What kind of identity crisis that causes for people? I mean, it's as extensive as somebody realizing that they're trans at whatever age. I mean, your identity, if it's all wrapped up in one belief system, I've never known panic like I've seen when people deconstruct. People hold on to their religious beliefs for years after or during their deconstruction because they know nothing else. And this is why it's so damaging when people change the way they live. They can go through years of depression and being lost, and isolation is a big thing because they have no identity outside of Jesus. That's why I'm very careful never to make my atheism my personality. Okay? There's a difference between being an atheist and being an atheist. I do not want to be the atheist where that's all people know about me. And, I mean, I've met some vegans and some vegetarians. They didn't make it their personality. I've met some that did. Trust me. I don't like people who make their entire identity based on their favorite color. Or, I mean, it's exhausting. And I went through a year of complete identity crisis because I had no identity outside of Jesus. And for those listening who have gone through or are going through that kind of dysphoria, it's so confusing. And when your beliefs, religious or secular, is your entire identity, you create an environment that if there's anything toxic, unhealthy, abusive, sexist, it's hard to leave these environments because your identity is solely under this hierarchy, this institution. And not only do people lose their identity, they can lose their kids, their marriage, their entire social structure, their mentors, their authority figures, their friends. They can lose their own house because if your job is wrapped up in religion, you can't pay your mortgage when you get fired. And when people, I mean, the way they vote, the way they live, how they choose to eat is all wrapped up in a religion. This may or may not be a good thing. And there are some decent, Christians out there that aren't MAGA. They don't try to use their Christianity like the bad stereotype of vegans use lunchtime as, evangelism hour. And several of my friends are low-key vegans and vegetarians. They're very nice. I have met a few that, you don't want to eat a hamburger around them. But I have met a few Christians, less than 5 in 30 years, that didn't see you as a sales pitch and didn't view their life as how well can we keep out demons. My family, the movies they watched were based on their religion, the music they listened to, the books they read, where they went, what they were into was all determined by their religion. I think it can be damaging because and it's not everywhere. It's not every belief system. I think it's in all belief systems, but it doesn't always have to appear. I think when you have an institution and an environment based on beliefs, whether secular or religious, people must fit in. They will compromise who they are in order to fit in. And if what they fit into isn't a healthy environment, well, they've now sold everything. And they'll lose everything if they leave. This is why abuse is rampant in religions. Because everything you have is tied up in a church. Everything you have, everything you are, everything you do or don't do is based on your beliefs within a religion. And if your religion says that reading books that don't line up with your beliefs is a gateway to demons, what happens if you attend a church that says that you need to pray instead of seeking medical attention? And there are churches that believe that. I mean, how many people have died because someone thought prayer is more important than injecting insulin or taking blood thinner pills? It's very dangerous to base your identity on a belief system. That's why I like atheism. We don't have any rules of what we believe. There are different kinds of atheists. We don't have a church. We don't have a pastor. We all don't feel, think, and believe, or the lack of belief, the same. We're different. Also, you won't lose everything if you leave atheism or decide to become agnostic or choose not to be anything, or you don't care. You're not going to lose everything leaving an atheistic environment, because we are so diverse and different. If you change your label, we just ask why. We don't ask how could you. We don't punish people for evolving in their belief system. We don't take away your kids. We don't shame you from pulpits. And we don't create an environment that makes it so you have to lose everything to hold on to your basic health, wealth, and happiness. My family, everything they did or didn't do was based on their religion. And they expected everyone to be the same. And if you weren't, you had the potential of luring them away. Just because somebody believes differently than you, they're not trying to groom you, usually. And